Alright, welcome back to the Sci-Fi book layout project. This is part 3 in the tutorial series. You can see I've taken the sci-fi sort of spaceship structure a lot further along. I'm actually going to go over today on how to deal with lighting. So if I turn off this group here of work, basically this is kind of where we left off, except I added more collage elements. But we were masking, and what I want to get to is not necessarily painting yet. We'll talk about the next tutorial, but painting in terms of light and dark, so setting for our light and dark values. So I'm thinking with this scene here, the light's going to be coming from above, like the sky, and so shadows will be kind of down below, and that's kind of what I did here in the work for the most part. Some areas are a little bit darker, like inside the cabinet here. I'm still working on, but overall that's sort of the scheme here. So I'm going to go over that, figure out how to do that here. So basically what we have here are my original images. So if I turn off this flatten layer here for a moment, you can see I have different parts, and each part has like a levels adjustment, basically to kind of match the contrast for the most part. Certain areas a little bit brighter still though, and so what I could do is I could start dropping the brightness in those areas, but I could also just start painting in those areas too. So that's kind of what I'm going to do here. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically click above all these layers and add a new layer here, and then we're going to do this crazy hotkey, and I've already done it on this layer here, which I'll drag it outside the group here, and it's Control Shift Alt and E together, or Command Shift Option E on a Mac. So again, Control Shift Alt E, and what that does, it creates a merged copy. Now I accidentally have my background on, so you want to make sure you don't have your background on. I have this gray background. You basically want to have transparency for the background. So again, Control Shift Alt E, and then I can turn on the gray background. And what's great about that when you have a merged copy is I can essentially use this layer as a clipping mask. So I'm going to collapse these masked images here. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is how do we get dark and how do we get light in here through non-destructive means. So the first way is through adjustments. The other way is through painting on layers. So I'll show you the adjustment process first. So what I have done here is if I click on the adjustments here, and again I have my merge copy selected here, I can turn off the masked images underneath, and I'm going to basically click on the levels adjustment here, and right now it's not clipped, so I need to clip on this little icon, or again hold Alt between the two layers to clip it. So I'll do that, and basically if I drag the medium value, which is the center line here, to the right, everything will kind of get darker. And that's kind of what I want to do. I kind of want to bring it to the darker value. And I don't want it to be black, but I want it to be a little bit darker. And so I could bring the blacks, but then you kind of lose color information. So I recommend just grabbing that middle slider and kind of darkening everything up that way. Once you do that, then you can select the mask here and then hit Control I, which will invert the mask, or Command I on a Mac. It's basically like clicking on the invert button here. And now I can grab a brush. So I'll go to my brushes here. Again, if you don't have your brush palette open, go to Window, go down to Brushes, check that, or Brush Settings. And so I grab this soft brush and make it kind of large in terms of the size. And then I'm painting with white inside this mask, and I'm going to drop the opacity, so I'll type in 3 for 30% here. And now what I can do is I can paint anywhere underneath, and it will progressively get darker, and that's what's happening here. So I'm just basically darkening the image, very quick and easy. Maybe a lot of this metal back here, I kind of want it to be a little bit darker. Underneath the cabin, if I want to make my brush a little smaller, I can, but if I want to darken in there, anywhere basically in here, I can come in here and sort of darken up. So that's how you get things going in terms of the darkness. The other one is a level adjustment to lighten. So I'm going to turn off this layer, again, and click on my merge copy here, click on adjustments, click on the levels adjustment. This time I'm going to clip it. It's already clipped because the other one was clipped, so you can see there. Now what I'm going to do is drag the light needle to the left a little bit, and what will happen is it'll start to brighten the image. And then again, I'm going to hit Control I to invert my mask. And then now as I paint with white, what I can do is I can create highlights on the tops of things. So if I want more highlight up here, anywhere along here I can do this and add sort of highlights, right? On the wing here I can do that. And so you can kind of see the idea. Now that's done with levels adjustments, so you got light and dark going. The other way to do this is through layers, so I'm going to show you that process too. If you click on a new layer here, and again it's already clipped in here, and I would add another one for the lights, I could select one, and wherever I paint with black, essentially the lower opacity would be the shadow area. Now painting with black is going to make it kind of flat looking. What you have to do is you want to change the blend mode to multiply. And that way it'll sort of darken the pixels in that area. Notice it is clipped though. So if I hold Alt and unclip it, you can see the black is leading outside the image there. So again, having these clipping masks are really great. So you have to hold the Alt key to clip in there. But basically that's how you could create some shadows in here. So I could shadow all this stuff down here and here. And I'm just using a mouse just for demonstration purposes. But that's basically the idea. Then if you need to finesse it, you could drop the opacity for the whole layer if it's too dark, right? So lots of possibilities there. Then on your light layer, you would do the same thing, except instead of working with black, you'd click here and work with white. And so up here I could paint and paint. And again, instead of changing it for multiply, you switch to screen, which is the lighten mode in the series here. And white right now is kind of strong, but I do want to just exaggerate and kind of show you, what you can do here. And then again, of course, you'd drop the opacity if you go too far with it. But that's how you can start to lighten things up. Again, here's my example, the way it's going right now. So you can see it's a little more subtle. I used a stylus pin. But that should wrap up this first part of the series in terms of light and dark. The next tutorial will talk about painting and adding textures. So until then, see you soon. Cheers.